you going, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another Spread Cheese production. It's me, Jimmy, again. Today we've got a little video on building some stuff for this little shovel. So this bike belongs to a mate of ours, Mick, and a really good mate of mine, Steve-O, from Steve's Custom Cycles and Salvage. Has been, I'm pretty sure he built the motor. He's just been piecing this thing together for Mick. So I know Steve had this tank lying around painted by another mate of ours years ago by Andre, so that's cool to see that going on a bike. Got this old what looks like a soft tail oil bag going in it. It's an old jammer frame, I'm pretty sure Steve said. So cool old period correct thing. Just getting me to do sissy bar pipes. Mick wants some bars eventually, but we're just gonna set everything up. So set up the caliper, build the sissy bar, mount the rear fender. So I thought I'd do a little video and take you guys through it, because I'm sure there's a lot of you out there that need to do something similar and don't know where to start. But this video is probably going to focus more on the exhaust and the sissy bar itself. So if you're interested, stick around, let's get into it. Cowabunga. So Mick wants to run just your traditional high-low upsweeps on the same angle as the frame. Sissy bar not too tall, just kind of lower than the risers. So let's get stuck into the exhaust. Now, these single bolt Shovelhead style flanges are definitely the worst design exhaust flange that they could have probably ever made. So if you've seen my exhaust videos, you'd know I like to start up at the heads and then work my way back from there. So we've got these little guys. These are a Spread Cheese laser cut exhaust flange. We've got a slot which gives you a little bit of adjustment, and these don't require any filing out. So bit of a time saver with these guys. You'll be able to get these on my web store soon. So I'm just going to bolt these flanges on. Here's one I've prepared earlier. Now for the bends, I'm not going to be using your standard tight centerline radius bends. I like to use my own custom bends here, or I've got some Kansai Giant bends here as well from my mate Johnny. So his bends are a very large centerline radius. I think they're like 6.5 inches. Mine are about a 4.5. So as you can see there, they actually nest quite nicely together. So if you want to build the sickest pipes, get yourself a set of my bends and get yourself a set of Johnny bends, and then get yourself a set of tight bends as well, and then you'll pretty much have everything covered. So I'm going to bolt this up, and then let's start cutting some pieces up and tacking. And so what I'm going to do is, these are just going to slide in there, something like that. I'm going to end up tacking it on, but I'm going to show you guys a little hack that I've kind of come up with, because you'll see with a lot of these pipes, these flanges kind of end up sitting like that, and that's supposed to seal. So I like to have it as flat up there as possible, and I'll show you a little trick. Okay, so this has probably been cut off an old CCI set of pipes or something. And one thing I noticed was, check out this little bend that they've got right up at the tip. And what that means is when, oh geez, it's not gonna give us a good demonstration there. But the idea is that when we bolt it up, this little raised bit is gonna hit first, and it's gonna push the whole flange in like that. So I'm gonna do a little modification to these to enable it to do the same thing. So if I pop a little weld on here, when it gets tightened up, it's gonna push down there and push it flat. So let's do that and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Wow, check that out. So we've got a little weld there. It's kind of a bit counterintuitive, but watch what happens now when I bolt this up. Okay, ready? Watch this gap. Amazing. I'm just gonna shove a fucking pipe in there just to show you. Okay. All right, ready? Oh. See that? Because of that little tiny nub, when we've tightened it up, it's now pulling flat around that whole area. So now when we weld it, obviously stainless, if I was to do a big fat tack here, it's gonna cause that when it cools, that metal there is gonna shrink down and it's actually gonna bend this. So the first spot that I would recommend tacking like this would be the outside here. And that's gonna cause the whole plate to kind of come in a bit. And then you wanna tack the two outside pieces here and then on the other side there, and then you want to tack up in there, and then you can take it off and weld it all up. So there's no gasket in there at the moment. I like to weld them up with no gaskets, and then we'll chuck some gaskets in and they'll compress up nicely. So let's continue. So I'm going to start off with this front pipe anyway. Now we want this pipe to come out, and I guess I'm going to pick this line here and try and go parallel with that. I like to match up all the lines to something else on the bike. That way it looks much better. So this factory frame rail, we're going to pick that up. So we're going to come down on that angle, go parallel with that frame rail, and then we're going to kick it up parallel with that frame rail there, and it's going to look nice and factory, or how a factory would do it. So here's this little piece I've cut. It's a Jimbo bend. You can see there, that's that line I'm looking for. Now up the top, I don't have enough material there, and I don't want to go into the head with a curve, so I'm going to put a little straight section there. I'm just going to tack it onto that, and then we'll pop it back in there and have a look. So in the bending process, see, this is nice and round. Now when this gets bent, it actually distorts, and see, it's not a perfectly round shape. So obviously if we try and connect this to a nice round shape, you can see there it's a little bit over the shot. So what I recommend doing is you can press all of your bends into more of a perfectly round shape, or you can just tweak the ends a bit. So I might hit this bit down with the hammer. I'm just going to give it a little squeeze in the vise and we'll see how much better I can get it. So that's it after a 2-second tweak, and you can see that that's much better. So it's going to give us a nice round fit up. Now I've had this tacked up to something else before, so I'm just going to clean up all these edges and give it a bit of a deburr. Got that little tip welded on there. Now I'm just gonna put it on the angle I want. So you can see there, guys and girls, that's looking pretty good. It is definitely beneficial to do this kind of thing with your controls, because you can see what issues you're gonna run into. That being said, Mick's gonna be running a set of forwards, so his master and everything's gonna be out here, so just the brake line there that we need to worry about, which is not gonna be a worry at all. Righto, so that angle's looking good. So now I've got this piece here. So just gonna cut this pipe here, tack her on. So I'm just visualizing where I want it, which is like there. And then look at that, we've got, if I cut about 100 mils off this one, that should be all right. Let's cut it. Okay, so this pipe here is still not tacked. So I can wiggle that around and move it to exactly where I want. And this is the piece that we just cut. No fancy cutting tools, guys. I'm just using an angle grinder and a linisher. So now look at that. That is giving us good lines. We're nice and parallel down the bottom. That line there is parallel with the lifter, the push rod tube. So I'm gonna tack that up now. Let's go. Pretty important. The old earth strap. Imagine I want to weld this. It's pretty important where you put this. If you put this here, guess what? All of that current that we want to weld with has to pass through. It'll find the path with the least resistance. So, you know, imagine if we connect here and we're welding here, this current has to go up here, possibly up through the engine to there. Now, if we did that and that current was to pass through like a bearing surface or something, that could be catastrophic. And we wouldn't know until probably 500 Ks later. So really, really important that you have a think about where the current is going to travel to and from. So if I'm going to weld on the pipe, I'm going to attach the earth to the pipe. Now I know the current is going to go from here to here. Capiche? that's it, we're tacked up there, nice and parallel. And our flange is still nice and tight. When we mount this, we're gonna use this mount to just hold that up, and it's gonna pull it in tight on that flange there. So let's keep working our way back down the bike, and we're gonna do this little bit next. So like that there, parallel. And of course you can't see the mark, so let me grab a texter. Okay, so this bend here is probably about 15-20 degrees, and I don't have that in a bend. So I'm going to show you guys how I'm going to cut one of the Kansai Giant bends at the right spot to give us a good meet up, a good fit up with that pipe. So if I hold this parallel with the frame rail and then move my way down to this bend, so it would be lifted up somewhere like that. I'm just going to rest it there. And then if I draw a line on here that's perpendicular to that pipe, that's going to give me the right spot where to cut it. So I've got this precision Sharpie. I actually eyeball a lot of cuts. And this is going to be no exception. So I'm going to do a cut there, and then we're going to have to put in a little piece of pipe right there. So now that coming back is going to give us just enough room to dodge the axle. So even if it does cover the axle, that's just the nut anyway, so you're still going to be able to get that on and off on the side of the road. So time for a cut and attack. So we've cut that, and look, we've got some bad distortion, bad. So just going to squish it a little bit and just make it concentric again. Well, round. Let's go a little bit more. Better.
Congratulations, you've tacked up your front pipe.
Okay guys, so we're about to weld it up. We've got it all tacked up. There's the rear pipe, front pipe. Now when I do all stainless pipes, I like to purge. So I'm just running a line into there, and then argon gas is actually heavier than oxygen. So it's gonna sit down here, and then it's gonna slowly fill up. It's gonna get rid of all the atmosphere out of there. And then we're gonna weld her up. So I'm just gonna tap the end here with some tape and poke some holes in it. And then that's it, time to TIG her up. So have a listen. You get the idea. So you can work out how many liters your thing is and then work out how many liters per minute to fill it. But then you've got to work out it's obviously going to be mixing and stuff in there. So I'm just going to leave it there and just let it flowing for a while, and time to tick. So I just did up some oil bag mounts on the top and did the fender mounts, bottom oil tank mount, and I reinforced the fender as well, so it's all going to be real solid. Built this kick-ass sissy bar for it out of some stainless, so it looks real nice all together. As you can see, I chucked one of my little tail light and license plate combos, mounted up the pipes, so mounted to the frame there, and then also halfway up I've got a gearbox mount on there, looking real tidy, so stoked with it. Cheers.